So, Honkai Star Rail just introduced a new change in Apocalyptic Shadow, which is called the Starward mode. Basically, what this Starward mode is that it gives the option to play 3 different teams with 3 different bosses in Apocalyptic Shadow to then obtain additional rewards. So you can unlock this after defeating difficulty 3. And then if you're able to play with 3 different bosses and beat with 3 different teams, you'll basically get an additional of 100 Stellar Jades. You also get this badge, which is pretty cool. By beating the Starward mode, you basically get additional rewards, where before this, in all the normal endgame contents like MOC, Pure Fiction and Apocalyptic Shadow, you'll get 800 Stellar Jades each. But now, with the trend we have right now, where they're starting to change with Apocalyptic Shadow, you're basically getting 900 Stellar Jades for every endgame content. Now, this is good for like multiple reasons. Well, number one, you get bonus rewards, which is always good. But another thing is that now it kind of like drives the anomaly arbitration change for all the endgame contents. Honkai Star Rail and its endgame tends to be a little bit stale. It's been repetitive because, you know, the teams that we have already now is currently strong, especially if you're like someone who started playing at the release of the game. And if you already have a very 2 strong teams, you're not really going to struggle too much with the endgame contents, unless if they really like make a very specific boss that requires a specific team, which then in that case it's like kind of shilling, which we don't really like. But right now, you're seeing like a change where they're starting to introduce more bosses. Now, in my opinion, having 3 different teams right now for all the endgame contents is really interesting, because it kind of forces you to play all the endgames like you would play Anomaly Arbitration. It would require you to strategize on how you want to split your teams. This of course then encourages players to play with different types of teams instead of just investing into 2 main strong teams. This would then introduce 3 different archetypes. More archetypes equals like more choices where you need to invest in. And as you can see here, it's exactly the same way how you would play Anomaly Arbitration. But as you can see here, they all have like different buffs. It's not like a copy and paste of like the same bosses. And they also have different buffs for the players as well, where this one is like different tree, this one also has different tree, and this one also has different tree buffs. So if you really look into like all the buffs, right, you can definitely see that there's a emphasis on different archetypes, where this one is like elation focused, this one is debuff focused, break focused. This one on the other hand is like more of a general buff with physical damage and also physical respan. This one is another elation buff. And then this one is more of like the one that is like helping Morton X Blade right now, which is the follow-up and ultimate damage. And then for the like final boss, which is the Flame River, you look at the Erudition Path archetype with the Herta, I guess. And then there's also the Dot archetype, and then there's also the Remembrance archetype. So as you can see, they're like trying to split all the archetypes into like very specific bosses, which then kind of like encourages players to play with different archetypes. Basically, if you're going to play like a hyper carry team, it's probably best if you would invest on one hyper carry and then another on a different archetype, like maybe Dot or Break or Remembrance team or Elation. And knowing that this is going to be the case, we have known that Apocalyptic Shadow and Pure Fiction is more of a gimmick endgame, which then doesn't actually require you to like focus too much on the core system or focus too much on like being able to clear that endgame in a very fast manner. But most of the time we would care about 2 main endgames, which is Memory of Chaos and also Anomaly Arbitration itself. Memory of Chaos specifically because the buffs there tend to be a lot more general and something that is more accessible to everyone, which doesn't require a gimmick or a certain way of playing, and judges the team based on how much damage they're able to output in a certain action value. So while the change for Apocalyptic Shadow here is really interesting, and probably the change for Pure Fiction will also be interesting, what I'm really looking forward to is actually the memory chaos of this Starward mode, because knowing that memory chaos now requires 3 teams would be a lot more interesting, because it increases the difficulty of the endgame and sort of requires you to like play the endgame in a very different manner, where you cannot just rely on 2 different teams anymore. I think it's a pretty cool change, and the fact that we're also getting like, you know, extra rewards for it. For players who never got to invest in 3 teams, perhaps they're starting to play and stuff like that, and they feel like this is a bit unfair. In my opinion, it's not, because again, the rewards still stays at 800 if you're not going to invest in 3 different teams. It only gives an additional of 100 Stellar Jades for players who can afford for 3 teams. So overall, I feel like the new Starward mode is pretty cool, pretty interesting, and I'm looking forward to like, you know, future endgames that requires this. Building 3 different teams has been a lot of fun for me, personally. I mean, obviously I don't have very strong 3 different teams right now. Like even my teams right now, when you look at it, it's just Acheron team, Dot, and also like Diherta team. I could play Remembrance, but right now I only have Castris and also Cyrene. I don't have Hyacinth or Evernight yet. And I could play Archer, but Archer requires like, you know, strong investment in the supports. I only have Sparkle, which is E0. I don't really have like other supports that can support him, because most of the supports are being used for Acheron. Alright, so that will be all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.